So you have great, good, and bad video games. The great and good are straightforward, but when it comes to bad video games, that's when subgenres are introduced. You have games that are so bad that they're good, games that are so bad they're not good, they're just bad, and games that are so bad that they really shouldn't be considered a video game. But then there's a rare subgenre where games are so bad, they're actually boring. That's where Desert Bus falls into place. How the hell did this game happen? If it wasn't for violent video games in the 90s and two professional magicians, then I wouldn't be here telling you about the Desert Bus video game on this episode of Pointless History. Penn and Teller are professional magicians and entertainers that have been around for nearly 50 years. They perform magic live on stage and TV, they entertain us with their personalities, analyze topics, and conclude it could be bullshit. Also, Penn is known on the internet for saying,
"You need to shut the f*** up!"
Penn and Teller paired up with the game developing company Imagineering and publishing company Absolute to create Smoke and Mirrors, a video game made up of trick mini-games to purposely screw with your friends. I believe this is inspired by their video Cruel Tricks for Dear Friends. I'm not going to go into full detail about the other games, because we're talking about Desert Bus. I'm willing to bet that a good amount of you watching this video already know about Desert Bus, but to those who don't know, you're going to be going down a long, boring road. The gameplay is simple. Very simple. So simple that even a baby straight out of the fetus could play this. You drive a bus in an empty desert, besides seeing rocks, in an empty bus with no passengers and no music on the radio, going from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada at 45 miles per hour in real time. Which means it takes 8 hours. 8 frickin' hours. What the frickin' fuck? Did you think I was joking when I said you're going down a long, boring road? It's one thing if you're playing an action-adventure game for that many hours, but an 8-hour bus driving game? You might as well go on an actual road trip at that point. To those who have no knowledge about Desert Bus, you may be asking these questions. Can't you just pause and save the game? Nope. Pressing start, which is usually pause, honks the horn. In the instruction manual, it actually says there's no pause feature. No, it's not an oversight. Does your life have a pause control? Why don't you tape the gas button down and let it drive on its own? The bus moves to the right. I have to keep clicking left on the D-pad. If it moves too far to the right, it gets stuck in the sand, a tow truck picks up the bus and brings you back to the beginning. In real time. Is there at least a prize at the end of the game? There actually is. You get 1 point. I don't know if I should be pissed off or impressed by them having the balls to do this. Does anything interesting happen while driving, other than a bug splatting on the windshield? Not much. The question on all of our minds is, why was this particular game made? Believe it or not, the 16-bit FMV Penn and Teller explain it to you. Mostly Penn, because Teller doesn't talk much.
Desert Bus is the first in our line of what we like to call Vera simulators, games stupefyingly like reality.
This was in response to violent video games at the time, which led to the ESRB rating system. Oh, come on now. The video games of that time weren't that violent. Okay, maybe just a little violent? So this was Penn and Teller's and also Imagineering and Absolute's way to go against violent video games. The funniest thing is, the idea wasn't conceived from either Penn and Teller nor Absolute and Imagineering. The idea actually came from Eddie Gorodetsky, who would go on to produce 2.5 Men and The Big Bang Theory. The game was promoted in Sega Visions magazine and set to be released in April 1995 on the Sega Genesis, Sega CD, PC, and jokingly enough, the 3DO. Not only that, but there was to be a contest for whoever got the highest points in Desert Bus, which the maximum you could get is 99 points. Meaning, there would be a total of 792 hours put into playing this game, and calculating that, it would be equivalent to 33 days of non-stop driving, or game playing, depending on how you look at it. It was said that the prize was a real bus ride from Tucson to Las Vegas with a live band and showgirls, then more partying once you got to Las Vegas. But guess what happened? Of course it did. After Absolute went out of business, Smoke and Mirrors was considered a lost video game for a little over a decade, until 2005. An unnamed journalist had a test copy of the full Smoke and Mirrors Sega CD game and sent it to Frank Cafaldi, who found the website lostlevels.org, a website dedicated to lost video games. The ROM was put online for people to play, and some have gone as far as putting the game on physical discs that you could play on your Sega CD, which I'm proud to own. What's also really cool is the amount of positivity this game has brought, despite the gameplay being horribly boring. A sketch comedy group called Loading Run Ready, like the Commodore 64, started live streaming in 2007 of them playing Desert Bus, and were able to raise money for charity. This led to them doing an annual event called Desert Bus for Hope, and it's been going on for over 15 years now. Combining the total amount of money they've raised each year comes to over $8 million. A great example of taking something negative and turning it into a positive. But Desert Bus possibly wasn't going to be the only Verisimulator game from Absolute. There's an end screen of Desert Bus with the text that says, "We hope you enjoyed playing Desert Bus. Watch for these other great Verisimulators coming soon from Absolute Entertainment, Toll Collector, Portrait Sitter, and Birdwatcher." Now this could just be a joke, considering the whole Smoke and Mirrors game was full of jokes. But then again, Desert Bus was made. It was never officially released, but it would find its way to the public eye. It makes me wonder if Penn and Teller and the game developers were going to make these titles into real games. Personally, I would have loved a Birdwatcher game, as long as they put goldfinches in there. Desert Bus has gained a cult following in the years since its late release for being one of... Actually, I stand corrected. It is the most boring video game ever created as a joke, and that joke went a long way, bringing people together to raise money for charity, and even some going as far as making homebrew versions of this game for the Atari 2600 and the Intellivision. I wonder if those are 8 hours long too. Desert Bus was the big middle finger to those violent video games of the 90s, and still is towards the violent video games today with Desert Bus VR. If the Sega CD version wasn't painful enough for some of you masochists, then the VR version is the next best thing. Desert Bus is to video games as the 8-hour movie Empire by Andy Warhol is to films. Imagine those being your only two types of entertainment media. That's a great pick your poison situation. If you ask me, I think I'll waste 8 hours of my life giving myself highway hypnosis.